Look at Gepard. Look how cool he looks, right? Anyway, Aventurine's here. So, obviously, we got to do a video of is Gepard completely replaced? Now, you might be looking at Tyler's video and going, what? What? You know, this is crazy. But he's not the first unit to get replaced. Technically speaking, every DPS, such as sorry, I'm just gonna throw Arlen in the bus. Like Arlen has been powercrept. You're not gonna get as much value as Arlen as other characters because Arlen doesn't hit as hard. But it's a lot easier in a game such as Star Rail or other gacha games for the DPSs to get power crept. They are the easiest to power creep because they really only do one thing, and that's damage. Well, obviously, a lot of different DPSs are going to have different gimmicks, but most of the time, a DPS's gimmick is to do damage. So, like stuff like Serval, Arlen, Hook, Donhang. Unfortunately, they're going to fall off, right? But we are talking about a non-DPS, right? And for the standard characters, they're pretty good, right? They still have their uses, like Bailu. Bailu has damage reduction, and then when you get hit, it heals. Very, very strong still. Very nice. Obviously, Bailu has her issues, though. Yanqing, he's a DPS, so he doesn't count. Himiko, great in pure fiction. Welt still has a bunch of uses, including sustain options. Most of the standard five-star characters have good uses. But now that Gepard has a direct shielding competition because March is more of a CC unit to provide freezes, and the Fire MC has pretty much a shield that might as well not exist, right? Gepard has competition now. So I'm going to go over every part of their kits, compare them, and pretty much tell you if Gepard's completely washed now, which unfortunately it's not looking too good for the guy. So first things first, Aventurine has a basic attack, scales off his defense, and Gepard has one that scales off his attack. So instantly, Gepard, he's getting 1 point knocked out instantly. Then there's a reason I'm going to skip. I'm not going for the skill next, by the way, just letting you know. Talent. When struck with a killing blow, instead of becoming knocked down, thanks for singing for me, Gepard, by the way, he heals himself. Okay. Considering Gepard's going to be the tankiest one on the team, that might be an issue if he's getting killed. Then Aventurine's talent. For a single ally with Fortified Wager, their effect res increases by 50%. For any single ally, sorry, I said that weird. Pretty much gives you 50% effect res when you have the shield. Then, when they get attacked, Aventurine gets 1 point of blind bet. When Aventurine has Fortified Wager, he can resist crowd control debuffs. This effect can trigger again after 2 turns. Aventurine additionally gains 1 point of blind bet after getting attacked. Upon reaching 7 points of blind bet, Aventurine consumes 7 points and launches a 7-hit follow-up attack that deals imaginary damage. That is a whole passive. That is a whole, sorry, Dokkan terms, right? That is a whole paragraph compared to, gives effect res to allies. He's immune to crowd control debuffs. He has a follow-up attack versus he reses himself. Definitely a Gepard L. Then we go over the technique. Gepard's technique pretty much spawns in a shield for the team. Aventurine's technique gives 24, 36, or 60% defense. Now, technically, Gepard's would be better here, so he will get a W, but technically, it is an L if you look at other parts of Aventurine's kit. We'll get into that in a second. Let's go over the traces really quickly because I'm talking about the ultimate skills for the majority of this video. So, for traces, actually, we can just view them via the talents, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in the skill, okay. So, traces. By the way, this is just Evo. Okay, so talent. Gepard has a higher chance of being attacked by enemies. That's a W, right? When Unyielding Will is triggered, Gepard's energy was restored to 100%. That is when he's revived, which is yikes. Then Fighting Spirit, which, by the way, leaning into the mic here. Gepard's attack instantly stops passive right there. Why do we care about attack on this guy? You are not building him attack. Anyway, increases by 35% of his current defense. This effect will refresh at the start of each turn. I'm sorry. One day I'll make GPS Gepard, and we'll see how much. Maybe we'll get defense relics with crit damage or something. We'll see how hard they really expect this skill to hit. Actually, like such a waste of a trace. I said this day one. I've been like a day one Gepard defender. Well, not anymore, but back day one, I loved him as a sustain unit. But increasing his attack based off his defense, man, you could have done like anything else. Like his attack could have, scaled into his defense at the very least. Like if I get attack rolls or stuff for attack, let it help the defense just a little bit. Anyway, comparing to Aventurines, which are going to be ignoring the first one because that is not one that we can talk about because it's D1. So for every 100 of Aventure's defense that exceeds 1,600, increases crit rate by 2% up to 48. This pretty much just gives him a crap ton of crit rate. As a offensive one, this is a lot better than scaling attack off of defense. Then, when battle starts, grant all allies a fortified wager shield, whose shield effect is equal to 100% of the one provided by the skill. Remember how I said we talk about how the technique isn't really a W in hindsight? It's because Venturing just gives that off of like the rip, no skill points needed. Then the last one is after an ally with fortified wager launches a follow-up attack, you get one blind bet. This effect trigger up to 3 times, and trigger count resets at the start of his turn. After Aventurine launches a talent's follow-up attack, provides all allies with fortified wager that can block damage equal to 7% of his defense plus 96. Pretty much, this is just giving him a little bit more to his shields. So we have a lot of crit rate, right? Instant shield when you start the fight, no matter what, and even more ways to get blind bet, and it increases your shield when you do the follow-up attack. Versus higher chance to be attacked by enemies. AoEs don't care about that. When you die, you get ult, which is already questionable, and then he gets attack based off of his defense. Easily see who the winner here is, right? Then let's go over to his skills. So skills for Venturing, he provides a shield, and you can overcap the shield by 200%, right? This would be super basic about that. Gepard's is he provides a 65% base chance to freeze the enemy. Now, there are pros and cons of this. If you land the freeze, you don't really need the shield then, right? Because the enemy is frozen, as long as it's just the singular enemy. Plus, this does help if the enemy is weak to ice, you can get closer to breaking them, or whatever it may be, because this is an actual attack. In some instances, this could be an L, though, if the enemy has like a counter up, or you're not supposed to hit them, or whatever it may be. You don't want to attack. This is a pro and a con, right? Same thing can be said with Venturing. It doesn't do damage, so technically could be a con if you need to attack. But I'll take, in the form of sustain, I'll take the guaranteed shield that's super VP over the chance to potentially miss a freeze, especially if the enemy has high effect res. So unfortunately for Gepard, having some use on the skill, it's still an L. Then we have the ultimate. Plus the shield to all allies, absorbing damage equal to 39% of Gepard's defense, plus 465 for 3 turns. Venturines randomly gains 1 to 7 points of blind bet, then inflicts unnerved on a single target enemy for 3 turns, deals magic damage, and then the unnerved enemy takes more crit damage. Now, Gepard gets the dub here because his ultimate gives a shield, right? And this is very helpful because if you're ever in a scenario where you need a bit more shield and you're about to get hit and you're like, oh, let me ult real quick. The only real way to do this is if you get enough blind bet points to give yourself a little bit of a shield. It's not going to be a crazy one, but the follow-up attack will give you a little bit of shield. So Gepard, I will say he gets the dub here. However, he takes the L in just about everything else. Venturine's shields are going to be more consistent, sometimes even stronger. Gepard's skill is unreliable unless you have him at U1. Aventurine will be doing more damage than Gepard. Sorry, that talent ain't going to save you. Or, sorry, Trace. Gepard's talent is not really super helpful because he's going to be the tankiest one on the team, so more than likely he's not going to be the one dying. I know he has a higher chance of being attacked, but how many times, like, how good RNG are you going to have to where Gepard's the one always getting hit enough to where he dies, you know? Plus, Commander, like, Really, the only good one he has is integrity for his bonus traces, while Venturine has three really good ones. Even if you just say whatever, I don't care about him being a damage dealer, the fact that he has the start of battle shield plus this to give him more shield when follow attacks is just crazy to me, right? And another thing that does suck, I know I wasn't going to bring in dupes, but if you do get him E1, right? Not only is he providing more support, but then when you ult, you get shield. Like, I have him at E1, and there's not a single thing besides Yanqing, like, doing more damage when you freeze an enemy that I can think of. And it's Yanqing. I'm gonna be honest with you, Yanqing sucks. He doesn't do good damage. The only, like, real reason I see people use Gepard is to freeze enemies, right? With the skill. And you know who is pretty universally used and loved for freezing? March 7th. So then Gepard has to fight March 7th on freezing enemies. March is on the ultimate, but she has an AoE and like all the stuff. She has counterattacks, all this stuff. I'm not going to debate because I don't use March enough to be like, oh, she's definitely the better freezer than Gepard just having on a skill. But the fact that you even need E1 Gepard to even be like, oh, he's my freeze unit, it says enough, right? If we're giving Gepard the E1, we're giving Aventurine the E1, right? And the fact that just getting one dupe on Aventurine pretty much completely obliterates any reason you'd have for Gepard is honestly really unfortunate. Now, I know most people will not go for the E1, so technically Gepard will have a small sliver of usability. It sucks, right? So like I said, DPSs, I expect every DPS to get powercrept, right? Eventually there's going to be a unit that does what Himiko does, but better, and Himiko is just unfortunately not going to be, you know, super useful. But when it happens to a support or a sustain unit, right, it's going to really hurt because there's really no reason to run him anymore. Like I said, unless you're doing the very niche Yanqing freeze or whatever, or you just don't have Aventurine, right? That's obviously the biggest thing, not having said characters. But like I said, 4-star options are a bit different. Like, if you want to use Lynx or Natasha for healing, right? That's fine. They're 4 stars. They're more widely available. Bailu, in my eyes, is not fully replaced because she is the only character that has the whole healing when you get hit stuff. They receive less damage. She has a healing ultimate, which, by the way, the Wocha doesn't have that. Ho-Ho doesn't have that. Pushwan technically has that, right? But the healing isn't crazy. So until we get a character with a healing ultimate that has like some sort of gimmick like Bailu's still like one of a kind healer. She still has her uses because of that, right? She's not completely replaced because how her healing works is different, right? And a lot of the other characters have that you know, aren't DPSs. Sorry, Yanqing, it just is what it is. Like even Clara has her own uses because she's a counter unit. She has her special niche that she will still be useful for. Bronya, cleansing, 100% action, advance. We still don't have that beat, right? Like I said, Himiko and pure fiction, right? Welt has his own uses with the whole like sustained Welt, whatever it may be. And there's Gepard, which sucks because Gepard was my first 5-star. So it really hurts to see how he has fallen from grace and is probably okay, like I said, not counting Yanqing because Yanqing is just a DPS. He's going to age quicker, right? A not niche DPS. He doesn't really have a niche to fall into like Himiko. Gepard is probably going to be down there with Yanqing in terms of best 5 stars now. If we look at into the lens of you have Aventurine. If you don't have Aventurine, obviously Gepard's going to have a lot more value because he's your shielder, right? But if we look into the lens of you have all the characters, who are you realistically going to be using? It's not Gepard, which is unfortunate. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Do you think Gepard still has some uses? Do you think Aventurine completely just invalidates him? Do you think you would ever see yourself using Gepard if you had E1 Aventurine? And when I ask that question, don't think of it as like, oh, I like Gepard as a character. Just think of if take away whatever character it is and put a completely black silhouette of a character, right? Slap Gepard's kit on one, you know, copy paste black silhouette, copy paste Aventurine's kit on them. Which one would you be more likely to use if there was not a character attached to it, right? E1 Aventurine, or well, even say E1 Gepard, just to give him a little bit of an edge, right? Which one do you see yourself using realistically? And would you ever use the one that had Gepard's kit? But other than that, that'll be it for the video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. And, of course, don't forget to like, subscribe for the next video. I'll catch you on the next one.